And it takes a good full back to go out wing back to corner back and have the confidence to attack the ball from there. So overall, we won't begrudge Kilkenny the victory. Hopefully we can get up to those standards in the near future.
All right then. We're going to take a short break now, but we've loads more to come. Join us in just a moment for analysis of how today's final was won and lost. We have Team of the Year and, well, you said the start they had was crucial.
It's crucial because, I mean, bearing back to last year, you know, they had to set their stall out very early in this game. They had to put their mark all over the place, not just in every position. And I thought today they just went at that. And you can see here Michael Fennelly delivering a ball. Out first, Owen Larkin turns very, very classy
space there, hadn't he?
Lots of space, but they needed to get the space, and the time was ticking up. Tipperary didn't score in the first 16 minutes. J.J. Laney here gets a great catch. They were on top in every position. Noel Hickey, who has been under huge pressure by everybody coming into this game, sets his stamp on the game. Owen Larkin again shows his vision. Richie Hogan here pops up to take this score. You know, these are the pressure scores that got Kilkenny off to the 5-point start. And it was that 4 or 5 points that was the cushion throughout the whole game. And as I said, like, Tip just couldn't break down Kilkenny in the first 15, 20 minutes. And that shot from Michael Fennelly just summarises that. It was the shoulder, shoulder shot, whatever. It still counts. And there's Richie Power with a great game again, you know, finishing on his left. So, I mean, Kilkenny set the stall out, as I said. They hit Tip really hard. They held them scoreless in the first 15, 20 minutes. And, like, they kept the cushion, they kept the advantage, and they, you know, they were just all over them.
Let's ask Cork's John Allen. John, in a match like that where both teams have, you know, they have the pep talk and they come out bursting for it, but one team completely dominates, what can you put that down to? Is that tension or nerves or what?
I suppose the build-up for both teams was so different this year, you know. Like last year, you had the circus that surrounded Kilkenny's drive for 5, and you had the fact that Tipperary were on year 3 of Liam Sheedy and Eamon O'Shea's tenure, you know. And I suppose having come so close the year before, you know, they knew that they had a very realistic chance. So, like, they were certainly coming into the game, you know, from totally different positions. Yeah. And I think, like, mentally today, Kilkenny were in a much stronger place than Tipperary were. Yeah. And, you know, the fact that when you look back at the game, almost every battle was won by Kilkenny men, and particularly the half-back line. Like, whoever has been picked as man of the match, I would say it probably came out of the Kilkenny half-back line, because you could pick J.J. Delaney, you could pick Tommy Welsh, you could pick Brian Hogan. And the amount of ball that they launched into quality ball, that quality ball that Tipperary were getting in other games, you know. Yeah. I mean, we were saying all along, and I certainly, you know, heard a lot of analysts saying before the game that if Kilkenny could stop the Tipperary half-back line from dominating, particularly Padraig Maher, and delivering quality ball, well, then Kilkenny had a real chance, which they did. Tipperary, or Kilkenny's half-back line were doing that today. They were delivering quality ball, diagonal ball. Henry Shefflin had just the most perfect quality ball right out in front of him. You know, he had a yard of space each time, and that was the launching pad for me, as well as the forwards, their forwards working extremely hard. That for me was the difference.
That's actually a cue, because that's one of the points you were making, Anthony, tactically. Talk us through some pictures here of the tactics employed by Kilkenny.
Yeah, well, I felt that, you know, young Cody's finally beginning to learn the tricks of the trade of the game, you know, and but no, there seemed to be a change in it, Des, today. Like, a lot of the time, you know, we see a fantastic passing movement here, but again, it was the short sideline ball, and you know, traditionally to be the long sideline ball into around the square, but they moved for that sideline ball all day today. And again, Tommy Walsh, if there was ever a little criticism of Tommy Walsh, it would be that he blazed the ball in around the full forward line, but all the time today he picked that crossfield ball to Henry. A fantastic score again there. I mean, they really used the ball cleverly today. I think Donald Grady would be very proud of them. You know, they looked up, found their men. Again, we see a Kilkenny man to hit the ball backwards to Michael Rice. I mean, that's not in the makeup. It's everything go forward. It's all the power. But I think they watched last year's final, would have studied it, and watched what way it worked out on the day. And again, they allowed no space back here, crowded. Again, Tommy breaking onto the ball, no booming it. Short ball, Rice is there. Eddie Brennan had come short for it, avoids him. Fennelly wins a great ball. Eddie's on the run. I think he actually went so fast here, Des, he tore his hamstring. he flew. It was the Eddie of old. Fast Eddie coming through the centre. Fantastic pass, and sure, what can we say about the finish? I mean, if it's not goal of the season, it'll be right up there. But I thought their use of possession today was very interesting. And
from the very start, from the very start, Colin Fennelly got the first ball, hand passed out by Richie Power. It was only about 40 yards out, 30 yards out to the right of the goal. It was a 50-50 chance. He didn't go for it. Now, nothing came out of the ball in. He played inside, and you saw that all through. They obviously made up their mind there was going to be no stupid wides from out the field, no boom in the ball. But you need good hurlers to play that game, good first touch. And their first touch all year this year, I thought, was very, very good.
And watching Brian Cody, actually, when they took the wrong option, he was very animated on the line like that. This isn't the way we said we'd play.
It wasn't the game plan, yeah.
It was totally in contrast to the semi-final against Waterford, where they were putting everything, booming it in, even though they had the match won. But they kind of had this up their sleeve, I think.
Aerial power was a key factor as well, Michael.
Yeah, well, I think over the last 10 years, one of the features of this Kilkenny team has been the power in the air, particularly of Tommy Walsh and JJ Delaney, and other players, obviously, but particularly those two players. And I thought last year, the forwards weren't putting, Tom Dempsey mentioned there, the Kilkenny forwards in the Ireland final last year weren't putting the sort of pressure on that normally did. But today, their forwards tackled ferociously, and the tip lads had to hit the ball on the back foot all the time. And as a consequence, they were playing high ball down the field all day. See Noel Hickey there, a great catch. But I felt that was a huge bearing on the game today. Everything that came down 50-50 in the air. And Tommy Walsh, I don't know how he does it year in, year out, but he's brilliant in the air, very, very hard to combat. And this was just, to me, maybe the highlight of the game, an absolutely brilliant catch through a crowd of players, fearless. And, I think all the lads agree. Michael Fennelly, this was a crucial ball because Tip had come back into it. Michael Fennelly catches a great ball. He travelled up and down the field all day as well. But certainly is, to me, a major, major part of the Kilkenny victory today.
Massive, yeah.
Joey Boland of Dublin, as a half-back, you must be in awe of the Kilkenny defence, are you?
Oh yeah, geez, they were fantastic today as a unit. Like the six of them, and in fairness, as the boys were saying about the tactics there, I've never seen Kilkenny before go man for man, and they really did their homework on Tipperary. And at some stages, you've seen Tommy back in the corner, and Paul Murphy played a lot of it at wing back and that. And I think they really did their homework, and I think the winning was in the Kilkenny defence.
Rather than the victory, all right then. Well, in crediting the Kilkenny defence then, to follow Joey's point, the tip forwards couldn't cope with them. So you've been looking at that for us, Anthony.
Yeah, it is. Only two forwards scored from play. John O'Brien, I thought, fought very valiantly, but they never created this. This is last year's final, and we just see the situation here where, there's the 3-on-2 situation from last year that was created. Men in front, easy ball into Larry, and Larry scored them all day. And that's the sort of situation that was occurring last year, and they got 4 goals. But you see today, Seamus Callan winning ball, tackled hard, harassed. Brian Hogan, great year all year, fantastic tackle. No space. Eddie Brennan getting back from wing back, hooks his man, blocked down again. Bonner Maher wins, tries the hand pass, intercepted by Tommy Walsh. And you look here, 9 Kilkenny defenders almost inside their 21-yard line.
Complete contrast to last year.
They absolutely blotted out the space. And, Eamon O'Shea talked about creating space, and that was a huge factor, but they just didn't allow it to happen. And they just fought like tigers. The hunger was incredible. And they never allowed the tip forwards to get into that sort of zone that Pa Buck here dogged, and the ball goes back to Noel McGrath, who, 3 of them coming in to block him down, and a miss hit, and it barely makes the 14-yard line, and Hogan is there to clear it up the field, and that happened all day.
Yeah, I think what you need to do there, though, if you have 8 or 9 players back that close to your own goals, well, then when the ball goes up the field, you have to have lads working so hard up the field and fierce athleticism. And Colin Fennelly, for example, was a player that I felt was a vital cog coming into the Kilkenny team this year, because he had that yard of pace that maybe was lacking with the likes of Henry and Eddie Brennan on the go an awful long time, but he was able to cover a lot of ground, get out the field. Richie Power, again, a man with fierce pace, and they were, from early on, Richie Power was coming back right out into his own half of the field, which was huge.
That's about the only incident that Tip nearly got through on goal. The only one chance that they nearly got, and in fairness to Noel Hickey, he technically dealt with it. Yes, you could say it's a cynical, but it was the right thing to do. You could say the Bonner Maher fouled Tommy before that. But
it definitely was a yellow card, but I said there was some confusion about who tripped him. It was a very subtle trip, if there's such a thing.
It didn't look subtle from behind the goal.
But the point is that that was the only break on goal that they got, and they were getting these breaks all year. And they only got that one today.
Yeah, it was a vital one, though, because it was just coming up to half-time. I thought Bonner Maher actually jumped into Tommy Walsh and then
put him off.
Noel Hickey definitely fouled him.
Let's ask Cathal Moore of Galway, your view on the Galway performance, given that people said they mightn't have the legs for the younger, fresher Tipperary players, Cathal.
Yeah, well, I suppose coming into the game, it was all about whether they could protect the full back line, but as it turned out, they didn't need to protect the full back line. Each of the Kilkenny backs, they were outstanding today. And if you said before the game, or even last night, that Lar Corbett and Owen Kelly wouldn't score from play, then you'd say that Kilkenny's job would have been done. And that was the secret to their day. They just stayed back, and not only that, they knew the right times to go forward. Brian Hogan made a few great forays up into the Tipperary half, and it was at the right time, but there was always somebody covering back. And if the full back line were in trouble, we saw a couple of examples of hooks there going in towards the goal. That was why they didn't threaten the Kilkenny goal, and David Herity had very little to do except for Per Burke's goal.
Well, Joe Dooley, as a forward yourself, you could probably understand the frustrations. I mean, this much vaunted Tipperary attack, who have scored so much in this year's championship, and yet only 2 of the 6 scoring today.
Yeah, well, that's basically down to the Kilkenny backs. I thought they were absolutely outstanding. And you look at the hurlers that's in that back line: Jackie Tyrrell, Tommy Walsh, JJ Delaney, the best hurlers that ever played the game. And they were hurting savage after last year. And I know from speaking to Tommy Walsh and 1 or 2 more, I'd say they didn't sleep for a lot of nights after last year's All-Ireland final, and they were building up to this all year. And, the pressure was on Lar. There was an awful lot of pressure put on Lar Corbett coming into the game, and, it's not easy when you come up against the back line.
Well, was there anything Tip could have done, do you think, to change things? Yeah,
well, basically they weren't in the right frame of mind coming into the game, and that was fairly obvious. Kilkenny won all the 50-50 battles, and, I'd say tonight Tipperary will be very, very disappointed with themselves, and they'll be back next year. Their turn will come again. They didn't do themselves justice today.
Michael, the other talking point was the referee, Brian Gavin, getting hit on the nose.
Yeah, well, first of all, Brian he's an athlete, I know him well. I thought he had a very good game today overall. A lot of pressure on, people expecting a very physical game, but you see here Tommy Walsh, and Tommy swings the hurler. Now I don't know exactly what he was at, but if he'd hit one of the Tipperary players, he was definitely getting at least a yellow card, maybe a red card. He obviously didn't mean to hit the referee, but he hit him a fair dunt on the nose there, and it's something maybe that creeps into Tommy's game. We don't want to be negative the night of an Ireland final, but sometimes he can pull a bit of a stroke, and there you can see in over the top of the hurl, dangerous play, and Brian Gavin got the belt, and we'll have a bit of crack about it over the next few days, but it wasn't funny today. The longest injury I think ever in Croke Park, stoppage caused by the referee.
Definitely a case days for bringing in the compulsory helmet for the refs as well, I think. Sure.
Yeah. Fergal Hartley, Tommy Walsh, has been in bother before with the analysis bits. His performance today was outstanding again as part of that half-back line that everyone's singing about, but you would have been a fan of this Kilkenny defence in your own way, wouldn't you?
Well, Tommy Walsh, has to be considered one of the greatest hurlers of all time at this stage. He's probably going to get his 9th All-Star in a row. Yeah. Absolutely phenomenal achievement. I think the player that stood out for me today was Jackie Tyrrell, because he had the toughest job of all to do. I mean, Lar Corbett is the player that makes the Tipperary attack take, and I watched him in the Munster final. His movement was incredible, and Jackie Tyrrell just followed him everywhere, and Jackie Tyrrell had a phenomenal game, and just completely obliterated Lar Corbett from the game. I mean, Lar Corbett, I think, didn't touch the ball once in the first half and possibly twice in the second half, so that was a phenomenal performance, and that in itself was a huge factor in Kilkenny's win.
It's interesting, so many of you mentioning different names, and each one of them is a leader. But anyway, debates up and down the country on that, no doubt, and plenty to discuss over at the Kilkenny Team Hotel. So let's head back there now and rejoin Michael.
Yeah, and Des, for a start off, I can tell you that the buzz and the excitement here at the City West Hotel is absolutely mighty, as they say. As you would expect after